Have you ever paused to consider how the stories we inherit about the past um, fundamentally shape our present reality? What if those stories aren't static? What if they're not merely being re-examined with new evidence, but actively reshaped, like right now, to serve contemporary ideas? It's a profound question, really. Touches the very foundation of how we understand our world. Today, we're embarking on a crucial deep dive. We're looking into a topic that profoundly impacts how we process information: the dangers of revisionist history. Our guide for this exploration comes from some really insightful excerpts by Mark at the Knowledge of King site. It offers a really clear and pointed perspective on a subject that's often misunderstood. Our mission for you today is to unpack not just what revisionist history is, but its underlying objectives, its subtle methods, and most importantly, why recognizing its dangers is absolutely vital. Vital for anyone trying to navigate the complex ocean of information we live in. We want you to emerge from this conversation with a much sharper eye for how historical narratives are constructed and, well, sometimes manipulated.
Yeah, and what's particularly fascinating here is the sheer subtlety and the profound power behind the act of reinterpreting history. It often operates beneath the surface, quietly influencing our collective understanding without us even realizing it sometimes. We'll explore not just the definitional what, but also the critical why behind these reinterpretations, and delve into the significant implications they hold for truth, for memory, and ultimately for our capacity to genuinely learn from the past. This isn't just some academic discussion, it's really about the tools we all need to understand the world around us.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Our source defines revisionist history as a controversial approach.
Right.
That word controversial immediately sparks curiosity. What exactly makes it controversial in this specific context? I mean, beyond just being a new interpretation.
Well, at its core, you see, revisionist history seeks to reinterpret historical events and figures. That part's straightforward enough. But the crucial distinction, and what makes it controversial, is that it does so specifically to align with the beliefs and values of the present. It's not merely new evidence coming to light that naturally shifts our understanding. That happens all the time, and it's a healthy part of historical inquiry. Instead, this is more like an active effort to fit and mold the past to conform to today's narrative.
Right.
This deliberate alignment, this sort of retrofitting of the past into a modern lens, that's what generates the controversy. It implies a motivation beyond just objective truth-seeking.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, it's not about finding a lost document that changes everything or, say, reevaluating evidence from a different perspective, but rather a conscious effort to make history agree with a pre-existing modern viewpoint. That distinction feels really important for anyone trying to discern genuine historical insight from something else.
It's about the intent, right?
Right.
Exactly, it's about the intent. Spot on. True historical inquiry thrives on new evidence and revised interpretations, sure. But it seeks to understand the past on its own terms. Revisionist history, as our source describes it, kind of starts with a desired outcome or contemporary belief, and then re-examines the past through that filter. It prioritizes fitting the past into a present-day agenda over a comprehensive, unbiased understanding.
That makes a lot of sense. And it leads us directly to the how. It's one thing to say history can be shaped. It's another to understand the practical mechanics. How does this manipulation actually take form? Can you walk us through the methods involved?
Yeah, this approach often involves very specific methods, and they are frequently quite subtle. It's really about disregarding or downplaying certain facts while simultaneously emphasizing others. Think of it like a carefully curated gallery exhibition. The curator decides which pieces are prominently displayed under bright lights and which are left in the shadows, or maybe even removed entirely from the collection.
Hmm.
So this can manifest as subtle omissions where, inconvenient truths are simply left out of a narrative. It happens. It might involve decontextualizing quotes, taking something a historical figure said and stripping away the original meaning or circumstances to make it fit a different narrative. Or it could be framing events in a way that disproportionately shifts blame or praise, painting certain actors as purely villainous or heroic, regardless of the full, complex picture. The aim is always pretty clear: to present a version of history that supports current ideologies and perspectives, rather than an unvarnished account. It's often not outright fabrication, though sometimes it can be, but more a meticulously curated presentation designed to achieve a specific contemporary goal.
This idea of a selective lens, that feels incredibly impactful for you listening. It suggests that it's not necessarily about inventing falsehoods, but about a far more nuanced and perhaps more insidious picking and choosing, or even manipulating existing historical facts to tell a story that suits a particular moment. That level of subtlety makes it incredibly difficult to spot for the casual observer.
Precisely. Our source states it quite powerfully. Revisionists manipulate the past to fit their own agenda and create a distorted view that serves their own interests. An agenda here could be anything, really. Justifying present-day political policies, reinforcing a particular cultural identity, or even rationalizing past actions by a group or nation. By selectively emphasizing certain elements and downplaying others, they craft a narrative. And that narrative, while potentially rooted in some facts, ultimately presents a distorted, incomplete, or misleading picture. It feels like history, which makes it such a potent tool for shaping public perception.
So when this kind of historical revisionism takes hold, what are the real consequences? What are the actual dangers for our understanding of history and maybe more broadly for us as individuals trying to navigate and make sense of information in our lives?
This is where the core concerns truly emerge, and our source doesn't pull any punches in outlining them. It's pretty direct. One of the most significant dangers is that it raises concerns about the validity and accuracy of historical accounts. If history can be endlessly molded, how can we ever trust what we're being told? It fundamentally undermines the very concept of historical truth. It's a serious problem.
Yeah, that's fundamental.
Another crucial point the source makes is that it ignores important aspects and nuances of the past.
Hmm.
History is rarely simple, right? It's a
That's
tapestry woven with countless threads, complex motivations, unintended consequences, differing perspectives. Revisionism, in its drive to fit a present agenda, often flattens this complexity. It reduces rich, multifaceted events to simplistic narratives, and this prevents us from truly grappling with the lessons of the past. We lose the richness.
Our source uses some incredibly strong language to describe these dangers, doesn't it? Among them, the idea that revising history to conform with modern ideologies is a form of intellectual dishonesty really stands out to me. Can you unpack why that particular phrase carries such weight? Why intellectual dishonesty?
Absolutely. When the source calls it intellectual dishonesty, it implies a deliberate choice, a conscious departure from the principles of genuine inquiry and the pursuit of truth. It's not presented as an accidental misinterpretation or, a reasonable debate over nuanced evidence. It's framed as an active manipulation. It means prioritizing a contemporary belief system over the integrity of the historical record itself. And this is particularly dangerous because it erodes the very foundation of knowledge. It suggests that facts are malleable, that they can be reshaped to suit any desired narrative. When history becomes just a tool for an agenda rather than a subject of honest study, we lose its power to inform and guide us. It becomes something else entirely.
That's a powerful distinction, highlighting that this isn't just presented as a mistake, but a deliberate act. And the Force also warns that revisionism manipulates historical facts for ideological purposes. This suggests a deeper intention behind the shaping.
It does. Ideological purposes refers to, well, a system of ideas and ideals, right? Especially one that forms the basis of economic or political theory and policy. When history is manipulated for these purposes, it means the past is being weaponized, used to legitimize a current worldview or to achieve specific political or social goals. The source warns that it twists historical narratives to support contemporary agendas, directly linking the historical reframing to present-day power dynamics and objectives. This prevents us from actually learning from the past because the lessons are predetermined by the ideology itself, not discovered through critical analysis.
So for you listening, this means that when you encounter a historical account, you need to consider not just what is being said, but why it's being said and whose agenda it might serve. It's an active, critical process you need to engage in.
Exactly. Ultimately, the source concludes that revisionists' efforts to change the past to fit their present beliefs only serve to hinder our understanding and appreciation of history, rather than providing a more comprehensive and truthful account. So, far from clarifying things, it actively obscures them. It prevents us from engaging with the full, often uncomfortable tapestry of human experience, and thereby limits our ability to learn from past successes and failures. It becomes an erosion of our collective memory, leaving us without a firm historical grounding.
Okay, if this is the danger, if history can be so subtly and powerfully misused, then what's the alternative? How should we approach history, according to the source, to gain genuine understanding and avoid these pitfalls? What's the responsible way forward?
The source offers a clear and, I think, vital counterpoint. It says, history should be studied objectively, free from biases and personal agendas, in order to truly understand and learn from the past. This calls for a commitment to intellectual humility, really. It means actively striving to set aside our preconceived notions, our present-day values, our personal interests when we examine historical events. It's about seeking a comprehensive view, understanding the context of the time in which events occurred, and considering all available evidence, not just the parts that conveniently fit a pre-existing narrative we might hold. It's a pursuit of truth, not just validation for what we already believe.
That sounds like a demanding path, definitely, but also an incredibly rewarding one. For you listening, then, the key is objectivity, approaching history with an open mind, genuinely trying to learn and grow from the past, rather than forcing it into a pre-existing mold or using it as a prop for current arguments. What practical steps can we take to achieve this kind of objective engagement, especially when dealing with complex or emotionally charged historical topics? It's not always easy.
No, it isn't easy, but there are strategies. Firstly, actively seek out multiple perspectives on any historical event. Don't rely on just one source or one narrative. Look around. Secondly, where possible, try to engage with primary sources directly. These are the raw materials, letters, diaries, official documents, newspaper articles from the time. They allow you to draw your own conclusions, or at least understand the immediate context, before it's filtered through layers of later interpretations. And thirdly, and perhaps most crucially, critically evaluate the motivation behind any historical narrative you encounter, not just its content. Ask yourself, what purpose might this particular retelling serve today? Who benefits from this version of the past? This active process of critical engagement really helps distinguish legitimate historical inquiry from revisionism.
That's incredibly actionable advice.
Yeah.
It shifts us from being passive recipients to active critical participants in understanding history. It underscores that respecting the integrity of the past, even when it's uncomfortable or doesn't neatly align with our modern frameworks, is essential for true learning.
Precisely. It's about accepting that the past is complex. It's often messy, and it's full of lessons that aren't always easy to hear. But by facing that complexity with intellectual honesty, we empower ourselves to make more informed decisions in the present and hopefully build a more grounded future.
This has been a truly illuminating discussion. We've dived deep into something that impacts us all, whether we realize it or not. We've seen how revisionist history is far more than just a simple reinterpretation. It's often a deliberate act, an act to mold the past to current narratives, quite often by subtly disregarding key facts or overemphasizing others to serve a particular contemporary agenda. It's a powerful and often subtle tool that can distort our entire understanding of reality.
Yeah, and if we connect this to the bigger picture, it really underscores the profound importance of developing and applying critical thinking skills, not just when reading history books, but in every aspect of our daily lives. Understanding these dangers helps us recognize when narratives, whether they're historical, political, or social, might be serving an agenda rather than a genuine pursuit of truth. Knowledge is most valuable when it's understood and applied critically. That allows us to discern truth from manipulation. This deep dive hopefully empowers you to be a more informed and discerning consumer of information, equipping you with a crucial lens for navigating the world.
Exactly. So for you, as you encounter historical accounts or discussions about the past, whether it's a news article, a documentary, a social media post, or even just a casual conversation, consider this provocative thought. How does understanding the dangers of revisionist history change how you will now evaluate information and narratives in your own life? What stands out to you as you reflect on this, and how will you apply this more critical lens moving forward to ensure you're learning from genuine history, not just a curated version of it?